Well, we've had a whole bunch of people living in our house, 8 of us over the last 2 or 3 months of lockdown. It's been absolutely great fun. And one of the things I've most enjoyed is I really like cooking for that number of people. So pretty much every night, 6 nights a week, I would have thought, the 8 of us have sat down and enjoyed a real great feast. It's one of the reasons why I've always liked the story we have in Luke chapter 9, sentence 10 through to 20, which is where Jesus is this great provider and he feeds this huge group of people. But there's a lot more going on actually in what Jesus does here in miraculously feeding a big group of people than simply kindness or compassion in alleviating their hunger. What Jesus is doing is mimicking, deliberately orchestrating 2 Old Testament moments. One you can read about in a place in the Bible called Exodus chapter 16, where a man called Moses has actually a huge multitude of people in a desert, in a wilderness, and they've run out of food and they're hungry, and God, through Moses, miraculously provides what's called manna from heaven. I've always enjoyed the fact that the word manna is just Hebrew, their native language, for what is it? They had no idea what this food was, so they just called it, what is it? Let's have a bit of roast, what is it tonight for dinner? The other story he's mimicking, which is a little bit shorter, so I'll read it, is in 2 Kings chapter 4, sentence 42 to 44. It's about a man called Elisha. He's just called here the man of God. This is what it says. A man came from Baal, bringing the man of God, that's Elisha, 20 loaves of barley bread baked with the first ripe corn, along with some ears of new corn. Give it to the people to eat, Elisha said. How can I set this before 100 men? His servant asked. But Elisha answered, give it to the people to eat, for this is what the Lord says, they will eat and have some left over. Then he set it before them and they ate and had some left over according to the word of the Lord. See, those 2 Old Testament miracles, the one done by Moses in Exodus and the one done by Elisha there in 2 Kings chapter 4, were hallmarks, stamps of authenticity that God gave to his great spokespeople, his great heralds of his truth. Here in Luke chapter 9, Jesus deliberately mimics that, but does it more spectacularly, more overtly, more miraculously than either Moses or Elisha have done. He's kind of trumped the 2 trump cards that were in the Old Testament deck. He's better than them both. And so it's no surprise that the very next thing that happens in Luke chapter 9 is the people around Jesus start to wonder who he is. In fact, Jesus deliberately provokes the question. Sentence 18 says, so when Jesus was praying in private and his disciples were with him, he asked them, who do the crowd say I am? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others that one of the prophets of long ago has come back to life. But what about you, he asked them, who do you say I am? And Peter answered, you're God's Messiah, God's Christ. See, all the crowds have seen Jesus do this miracle of feeding, and they're thinking he's like Moses, he's like Elisha, he's like one of these great Old Testament prophets. That's the rumour mill that's now going. He's the latest in the line of great ones sent from God. He's another one in that great lineage, that hall of fame. But Jesus is not satisfied with that answer, as enormous as that title would be, another one of these great ones. Jesus says to Peter, but what about you? You close-up, eyewitness, personal followers of Jesus who have seen, behind the curtain, if you like, into Jesus's life. Who do you say I am? And Peter says, actually, you are not a mere prophet. You're not even an Elisha, Elijah, or a Moses. You're so much more than that. You're the Messiah. You're God's chosen and unique one. I love this story about Jesus feeding people here in Luke 9, partly because I love to feed lots of people, as I said, but mostly because it shows us that Jesus is so much more even than the greatest ones of history, that he's a unique one. And actually, we should never call Jesus the Great, like Napoleon the Great or Alexander the Great. He's not the great. He's Jesus the only. In some sense, nothing like those Old Testament prophets who he blows out the water with his greater power, his greater love, and the greater presence of God that he brings.